I guess for the morning, to my immediate, or just seated my immediate left, is Abraham Amaliba. He is a legal practitioner and a member of the NDC. Another legal practitioner is also here, John Kuma. Good morning to you, member of the MPP as well.
Morning,
Rod. Morning.
How are you, the two of you?
We are fine.
Great.
Good.
I take it that once you're in this, you are not going to
No.
It means
I'm
he's
naked.
on holiday.
Yes, you're naked.
I'm naked.
All right. So let's quickly get onto the substantive issues and quickly wrap up on this, and then we speak to the mains. Parliament constituted a committee, or the Speaker constituted a committee led by Honorable Joe Gate to investigate alleged bribery allegations raised by a member, or if not three members, of the Appointment Committee of Parliament. And we know it follows the appearance before the committee, the current Energy Minister during his vetting. And the proceedings yesterday. I have to start with you, John Kuma, on the subject.
Yes.
We had the chairman of the committee appearing before the Joe Gatti-led committee.
Good morning to viewers. The bribery allegation, for me, was very, very disappointing. And of course, very surprising that you have members of parliament making such wild allegations.
The allegations are wild?
Oh, it was extremely wild. And, you know, apart from, I'm happy they are doing these investigations to clear their own image as members of parliament and the institution. Because the implications where a member of parliament accuses a minister designate of bribing the parliament, the institution, it has so far-reaching consequences on our whole governance system and how parliament operates. And for me, what was more shocking was the person who was making the allegation and the basis of the allegation listening to him. I mean, as a trained lawyer, and he's a lawyer, he knows that he who alleges must prove. And if you listen to him, the entire basis of his allegation was mere hearsay. Oh, it was the chief whip who told me that the chairman of the appointment committee told him that the minister designate brought him. I mean, for me, it was such a difficult to prove. But of course, once it's being investigated, we all have the opportunity to listen. That no wonder I'm now hearing that the whole thing was cooked and it was just meant to score a political point, because under no circumstance can we make such a fantastic allegation of bribery on basis of hearsay. This man told me this, that another person has told him that, and this person, I mean, what kind of wild allegation with such consequences on our politics and governance? And it is on grounds of this man told me this, and this man told me that, this person has said that. You know, for me, it was very, very strange, especially coming from Mahama Yarega, who is also a trained lawyer. And I was surprised, because these are not matters you can prove. And it is strictly, I mean, if you listen to him, and then when the chief whip himself also came out to deny, and then there he was stuck. So how do you prove beyond what somebody has told you? When you yourself had access to the chairman, you could go to the chairman to find out yourself. You could even go straight to the minister designate. You're a member of parliament, a member of the vetting committee. So you could ask him or interact with him and say, oh, I have been told this. What do you say to that? Before you rush to the media. But for you to quickly run to Radio Gold and make wild claims with such damnable consequences on our parliament, for me, is very, very astonishing. And I was disappointed listening to him. But at least now we all have the opportunity to go into the details of the so-called bribery. Let's see what evidence they will bring, because as for lawyers, we have been trained to say that he who alleges must prove, and the basis of proving it is evidence. How are you going to prove that somebody told me that somebody has said that? and that is your basis for making such wild claims. So yesterday I listened to the chairman of the vetting committee and the first speaker of parliament. For me, I have no cause to doubt what he's saying, that this whole thing was cooked. And that, according to him, one of the members of parliament in the minority side claimed that they were trying to settle scores with the minister designate because he had made corruption allegations against the former president. So let's wait and see what kind of report will come out. But for me, it is very strange.
Abraham, Ebi.
Yes, I don't think this is strange at all. In fact, if you consider that we've had such reports emanating from Parliament, this is not the first time a parliamentarian has accused Parliament of taking bribe. Countless times. PCRP Ofori, you have Alban Babin, many more. Whenever there's a corruption perception index, Parliament ranks number 1 to 3 or 4. They are there. So it cannot be strange. I think that this is an opportunity for Parliament to say, for the first time, we are going to get to the bottom of this matter and exorcise this ghost of corruption in Parliament. It's a fine opportunity for them. The committee should do a thorough job because this would go a long way to help the image of Parliament itself. And if the committee fails to do the job that Ghanaians expect it to do, I think that this albatross hanging around the neck of Parliament will continue for a long time to come. For me, looking at the procedure adopted, I think that it will be difficult for the committee to reach its conclusion, a proper one.
Why?
First and foremost, I expected that those, and don't forget that this committee was put in place, it is an ad hoc committee. It's not a standing committee of Parliament. It was put in place based on a petition sent to Mr. Speaker. For me, and he knows, he who alleges must prove. And if you are a plaintiff, you start your case. I expected the petitioners to have been the first to appear before the committee. And then those who have been accused will now have the opportunity to rebut.
But you think now is now.
But who are the petitioners?
Oh, well, you know them.
No, you see,
You don't
unfortunately,
know-
unfortunately,
let me speak.
just to clarify that, I have also asked that question.
But the petitioner is the chairman of the committee.
Yes,
No,
yes, he requested it on the floor.
no.
He even
no,
wanted to
no,
go outside
no,
the
Yes.
floor. And
So
said
in this
if he could
case,
be
it is
permitted.
the chairman who is the
no.
Okay,
petitioner.
that's the point.
No,
You wait.
No. I thought that Ayarga, Suihini, and Okujeto had formally petitioned Mr. Speaker.
No,
Are you saying that didn't happen?
no, it didn't happen.
Who told you say?
There was a statement like that.
Ah,
they formally wrote to the speaker.
Look, let me say what
on
I
radio.
No. Let me
There's
say
a
what I
formal
know to the
statement.
people.
There's a formal statement.
Don't re-roll
I
my
remember.
submissions. The three submitted a petition to Mr. Speaker.
But they didn't they didn't
On the
ask the
floor?
speaker. No. They didn't ask the speaker. It was on a weekend which was made formal on Monday. They didn't ask the speaker to investigate. They just raised.
They petitioned Mr. Speaker, and embodied in that petition was to inquire into the matter. Now, two of you can say that it is not that petition that triggered this committee. You can say that, but don't say that
There was no petition.
I am lying. That's what you people are saying.
No, we are not saying
Who
you
are
are
the
lying.
two
We
of
are
us?
saying
Yes.
that they took their petition to Radio Gold.
that-
They didn't
that's not
make
fair,
it
is
on
it?
the floor of the parliament.
That's not fair.
I'm saying that there was a petition by the three to Mr. Speaker, not Radio Gold.
No, to Radio Gold.
Look at what he said. You see, these are serious matters. Now, it is also wrong for anybody to say that it was Ayarga who made the claim that bribery has taken place. In fact, it was Sami Ablodepe. So you don't know the facts. Sami Ablodepe, and he's the one that
Conducted interview.
Joe also was saying that he is a presidential staffer in President Mohammed's regime. It's not true. He was a correspondent at the Flagstaff House. He leaked the information out. Ayarga was only interviewed to confirm, but the information that bribery has taken place came from Sami Ablodepe. I've mentioned his name, of Radio Gold.
Well, in the workings of Parliament, he becomes insignificant in all this.
Now, he's not insignificant. The one who broke the news cannot be insignificant.
Well, yeah, in the media, he may have broken the news.
So, for me, it is not baseless to have this committee sitting and delving into the matter. The image of Parliament alone...
Do you still insist?
The image of Parliament alone is a matter that is the public domain, and they need to cleanse that bad image that is there in the public domain. Now, I've heard people say that the people have all denied. Those who have all denied. I ask the question, is it a Nobel Prize they have won for you to say that they would have admitted? Huh? Joe Seuso, Ejako, Muntaka, and then who? At least 3. Is it a Nobel Prize that you say they have won and you expect them to come and admit that I've actually won a Nobel Prize? This is an act which goes to tarnish their reputation. I'm not by this saying that they have done it. Now, because they have denied, it doesn't mean that the work of the committee is baseless, or there were some who were saying that there was no need to even set up a committee to look into it. And I've heard people say that somebody has sworn a Quran or has sworn God. Look, we belong to the same profession. People in court swear by oath, swear by the Bible, Quran, the cross, and even some affirm. Immediately they enter the witness board, they start telling lies. So let's look into this matter. And when you look at the arrangement, they are bringing Joe Osewusu, who came yesterday, he denied. They are bringing in Muntaka, who denied. They are bringing in, we know their stance already, Ejapon, who denied. And the only person they are bringing is Ayarga.
Among the 3.
Ayarga.
Yeah, among the 3.
Among the 3 or 4 is Ayarga. They are saying that any other person who feels that he wants to be a witness should write to the committee, and the committee will determine whether it is important for them.
So your point is what?
My point is this. The other 2 members who petitioned together with Ayarga must be automatic witnesses. I'm talking about Samuel Kujeto, I'm talking about Suyene. And so if we don't bring these 2, who are, in any case, they are even going on social media and putting their cases across. Do you want that to continue, or you want to bring them to the committee for the people of this country to hear what they are saying? I think that without the 2, any attempt to limit it to these 4 is going to be whitewashed, because you have 3. If 3 come and say no, 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 and one person comes and says yes, 3 ways against 1, and it is not fair when there are others who have also corroborated the bribery allegation. And I think that this is a serious matter. Parliament must look into it seriously and not to try to massage it. And I think that they won't do that.
I mean, clearly, you cannot tell Parliament how they do their work. You have made your claims. And Parliament, as an institution, have put up a body, and they have put out guidelines on how they will deal with the matter. In fact, if you go to Parliament, we have blocks. We have the majority, we have the minority. So if a key ranking leader like the minority chief whip is going to testify on behalf of the group that is making the allegation, then, and in fact, this whole allegation is centered on him, that it is alleged that he gave the money and also told the complainant or the person making the allegation.
But they had also formally written to the speaker, and
which people? But you see, the fact that you wrote to a speaker doesn't mean you got the attention of the speaker. We know how the parliament system works. This matter has been dealt with in Parliament, and the petition was by the chairman of the appointments committee,
who felt that his reputation was
being damaged. And then he was calling for this. So he, at this point, is the petitioner, not a letter somebody wrote and read on Radio Gold. No. And in fact, this whole
at the time that Mr.
Your program is a credible program.
What kind of program? This whole bribery thing started on Radio Gold. This whole thing was cooked. It was cooked and served on Radio Gold.
There were 3 persons who petitioned that you must make it
Have
clear.
you seen?
And-
Have you seen that
and they
petition
sent it
and
to
whether
Mr.
it is
Mr.
submitted?
Yes,
How do you prove that it was
cited.
You have cited a letter.
Yeah.
If you
Have
don't know
you?
something,
Can you
say you
confirm
don't know.
that it was submitted?
Yes. it was.
How?
What is how?
How do you prove that?
I've
The
cited
fact that
the
you
letter.
write a letter and read on Radio Go doesn't mean you have submitted to the
no.
speaker.
At the time that I
Trying
saw
to
the
be
letter,
little trivial.
Of
he
course,
had,
but
he had
this whole
already
thing,
spoken on Radio Go. He hadn't written to the speaker. It was following the uproar, perhaps the impasse, in his submission to Radio Gold, that the letter came in. It came
And
in
the
before the
letter-
close of the weekend, then subsequently.
I'm asking you.
I can't.
Can you confirm, you personally, whether you know that letter was given to the speaker or his secretariat? You don't know. And I'm telling you that these schemes is a whole political game they are playing.
Who
And
are playing the
of course,
political game?
the Mahama Yarega, Okudzeto,
But that's not a fair
Blakwa,
comment, is it?
Oh, why is it not fair?
Because
there's
it
beef.
almost
Let me tell you,
seems like
they
as if
are-
it's a three
they-
against the lot.
Yes, but the point is that they are members of parliament and they know how parliamentary system works.
Well, if something untoward
coming.
happens, shouldn't they be raising
If it
concerns?
happens, they know there are systems within parliament to deal with these issues. But they run straight away to Radio Gold on grounds of hearsay.
So you have difficulty because they
I've already told you that I was disappointed about, first of all, how
because
they
they
handled
went
the
to
matter.
Radio Gold?
Yes. It should tell you that this whole thing was cooked and that it wasn't any serious matter.
How can you say that? Is it not perhaps they think that they may not get the necessary redress
Let me
that
tell
they
you,
need?
if indeed it's a matter as serious as bribing the entire minority was true, then I expected that the minority group led by the minority leader should have held a press conference telling the whole world about how the majority group have attempted, and this is a huge political capital. You understand? No wonder the chief whip will swear by Quran that he has no idea about this and how it came about.
So you're saying the matter is already defeated?
I mean,
before
but
it started?
clearly there is no basis for this thing to stand. I mean, and no wonder they will always run to Radio Go to make these claims because they cannot substantiate any of these claims and there is no basis for it.
The concern that has been raised is, if you look at the constitution of the committee in itself, the head of the committee or the leader of the committee is a member of the appointments committee in itself, is a member of parliament. The whole questions and rationale being raised on that very ad hoc committee is about whether it will have the moral guts to deal with its own or their own.
You see, sometimes people want to eat their cake and have it. We have set up institutions. They have processes and procedures by which they operate. Parliament have various committees and ad hoc committees and how they go about selecting people. I mean, people have even questioned why ministers who have been, MPs who have been designated as ministers even sit in the appointments committee. But yet, when you go through our constitution and our laws and the procedures, these things are expected and unavoidable. I mean, who else could qualify than a former attorney general who, has the background and can deal with such matters and also qualifies in parliament as a member of parliament? In fact, he's also a former speaker. So who else, I mean, if you go into parliament, who else could chair apart from him, looking at all the names that were called to be members of the committee?
What if they had dealt with the issue outside parliament?
Yes, that's another matter. But for now, they are dealing with it as an internal matter. So it has to be still settled by members of parliament within the parliament. So once they have opted for that, and the system has a way that it operates, and we have put that system in place. So I don't know why anybody they would have called within parliament, people will still raise, because at the end of the day, that person will still be in parliament. And we know that all committees in parliament must be chaired by the majority side, and then you can have ranking members from the minority side. So I don't know why they are still raising issues about membership. Maybe we should have gone for Amaliba if he was in parliament, but he's not. And I'm also not in parliament. So whatever it is, once it's an internal probe, it must be led and chaired by somebody who is in parliament.
Why are you bringing me in? I didn't say that parliament cannot investigate. You see,
He said it's a concern raised.
point is this. You would notice that in this matter, when Joe Osewusu appeared before Parliament, he made a point which I felt was inconsistent with his earlier denials on this matter. Earlier on, he had made the point that, and when he was speaking to Joy FM, that Ayarga was the one who told him that the allegation was cooked and that the allegation was just to make him also feel the heat of how Ejako accused President Mahama to be corrupt. Then yesterday he said it was Okujeto who told him that it was said in jest so that he also feel the pinch of how it feels to be tagged corrupt. And I asked the question, if Okujeto actually said that, why would Okujeto sign a petition together with Sueni and submit same to Mr. Speaker? Okujeto would not, knowing that it's a joke, go beyond that and then sign a petition. Sign the petition means that he's serious about the matter. And so there were some inconsistencies in his own submission. And I think that, for me, this hearing would bring out the truth of the matter. But like I've said, no truth can become, the outcome of these investigations cannot be conclusive unless these two other persons who also petitioned the Speaker appear before Parliament.
I think it's a strong point there. We'll see how that goes. And the matter is ongoing. We expect to have the second sitting of the ad hoc committee led by Honorable Joe Gatti. But in the meantime, let's move on to some other issues. And it's about whether to spend or not to spend. It's indeed the front page headline of the Business and Financial Times. The Heritage Fund to somehow be used partly to finance a free SHS policy that the Kufuor-Addo-led government promised during the period of the campaign. And now the president, just before this week began, during the weekend, announced that all the necessary line items that will unburden parents of all the responsibilities of paying for fees for the awards in the second cycle level have now been taken off, and it is expected to start by the beginning of the next academic year. But we have a piece on this, so just watch and then we'll come into the discussions.
We are going to look at the Heritage Fund. The heritage implies for the future, am I right? We want to introduce, and the president mentioned it last week, I mean, free fee education in the second cycle, that is the SS. And it is likely to be funded through the Petroleum Act. That being the case, we've got to make amendment and say that X% of the Heritage Fund or the Petroleum Fund will be used to support second cycle education. If we think that industry require a stimulus that will enable jobs to be created, and we are creating a job to build Ghana, isn't it? Is that not for the future? So you can look at it and also put a certain amount. We are looking at agriculture. So wherever it is important to support the future development of this country, particularly when you talk about the youth is the future, heritage is the youth. We would make certain relevant amendments to make sure that the economy benefits from the Petroleum Act.
The Private Enterprise Foundation also made mention that some of
And that's a senior minister, Yao Osafo-Maafo. He was formerly a finance minister in the Kufuor-led administration, but also had other responsibilities in that administration as well. But following this, we've had a number of think tanks, civil society. ASEP has come out, the civil society platform on oil and gas is also asking government to immediately abandon the decision to what they call in their statement, rate the oil and gas heritage fund. John Kuma, what do you make of this? I know it's just a policy intention, so to speak.
Yes, I have listened to both sides of the argument. First of all, those who are challenging the plans to finance the SHS with the Heritage Fund says that there was a reason why the Heritage Fund was proposed. And first of all, they also argued that even the amount being held in the Heritage Fund so far will not be sufficient in terms of going into the long-term sustainability of the free SHS program. It will be difficult to just bank your hope on funding from the Heritage Fund, because seriously, if you do the projection, the annual revenue inflow into the Heritage Fund is about $20 million. $20 million. And that may not be enough to fund the free SHS, because we are looking at over $100 million annually. And so these are the arguments they are making. That is okay. And then the government is also saying that we are talking about the future of this country. And free SHS is preparing the youth and the children of this country for the future. Indeed, those who have followed the Heritage Fund so far have said that all the investments they have made with the fund has not accrued more than 1% per annum even into the fund. So it's just sitting there and not benefiting the country directly as it's supposed to. Some have even suggested that instead of just keeping it in the current investment fund as it is, it should be directed to maybe the private sector and given to businesses as long-term loans with higher interest returns than we are seeing today. So there are a lot of arguments. In fact, in the time of the NDC, I remember their general secretary also making, very loud arguments about why we should not let the Heritage Fund be as it is, and that he was proposing that we channel it into infrastructure development and build more roads and schools and hospitals with the Heritage Fund, because he was not seeing the benefit of it. So indeed, there is an argument from both sides of the debate, or let me say, all the major political parties who have been in government have expressed the need to do something about the Heritage Fund as it is now. And whether it be channeled into infrastructure or into education, we all have to listen to all the arguments that is being made. Maybe totally dissipating the funds may not be the best idea, but we can look at maybe tapping into it up to a certain level to help, and giving infrastructure and education. I'll always go for, if we are talking about Heritage Fund, I'll always go for education, because that is also protecting the heritage of this country and building them. Indeed, I can tell you that if my father had an option, or I as a father, if I had an option to leave my children 100 billion cedis and to educate them with 20 million cedis, I will always prefer to use the 20 million cedis to prepare them and educate them than to keep 100 billion in the account for them. Because if you don't prepare the children well for the future, they will come and waste the 100 billion. But when you prepare them with the 20 million cedis, they will be in a position to even create 200 billion in their own capacity.
Based on the education.
Based on the education and training and capacity building you have given them. So we must weigh all the arguments, and we must be patient about it. I don't see why we should not listen to those who are raising concerns, because seriously, the Heritage Fund will not be enough to sustain the free SHS. But it is possible that we can tap some amount of resources from the Heritage Fund to support other areas where we may draw other funding from. So we must listen to all the arguments and see how best we help to raise the funds to promote the SHS.
Now, when our General Secretary raised this issue some time back,
I remember in 2014.
This is what Koku Bako said. And we know Koku Bako is a sympathizer of the MPP. He said, chop Heritage Fund, it is a bankrupt suggestion and an admission of failure. Then the deputy minority leader, who is now the Minister for Defense, sarcastically said that if the government intends to take money from the Heritage Fund, then it means that it has no solutions to the problems the economy is facing. So they should leave government and give it to people who are better managers to govern the country. Fast track today. The matters we are talking about is regulated by law. So let's not speak from our opinions. Let's not speak from what we think is proper. Law has set up the Heritage Fund. The senior minister's understanding of future generation is wrong. The law stipulates who this future generation are. Indeed, as we speak, this future generation, as defined by the law, are not yet born. Because it says that it is for the development of the future generation at the time that the petroleum reserves are depleted. So as we speak today, the future generation is not yet born as compared to what the law says. So to use just the word future generation and say that, oh, when we educate people, it is their future. That's not what the law says. And I'm saying that these things are regulated by law. If there were no laws regulating this, then you can speak from your opinion, value judgment, adding all the things you want. But there's a law regulating what you are saying. He has made a point. Even with the fund is not enough to even cater for the free SHS. So, our time, we also developed the educational sector by building schools, but we did not go into the Heritage Fund. The Heritage Fund is just 9% of the entire revenue we get from petroleum. 70%, 21% has been allotted within the petroleum fund. Why don't you tap into the two? The one which is 70%, the one which is 20%, 21%, and the 9%, which is something meager, you want to tap into it. So you go about giving your promises left and right, not knowing that you will come to power. By the grace of God, you've come to power, and your promises are staring you in your face. Then now, you want to dip your hands into something that the law says you shouldn't do. When you were going around giving those promises, you didn't know where the money was going to come from. Today, you are going to the Heritage Fund. The same fund that you said we shouldn't go to. And you are using the word generation. The word generation is not your dictionary meaning. The word generation has been defined by the law. And the law limits you that this generation we are talking about are those who are yet to be born at the time that their reserves are depleted. So, you see, we've come full cycle. And for me, this is how governance should be. If I'm there, you think I'm not doing well. When you come, it will stare you in your face. You are also dipping into the Heritage Fund. And for this matter, I want to congratulate civil society for rising up in unison and telling the government in its face that that fund cannot be touched, and so must it be.
I mean, this argument about law, my learned brother knows that law is not cast in stone. It was made by Parliament, and Parliament can always amend it. In fact, that is the proposal.
But the law was also made based on best practices in some
Look,
of
whatever it is,
some of the most
man
developed
is not made for law. Law
countries.
was made for man. And if at any point the nation feels, because the argument being made started from the NDC, in fact, by their General Secretary, that there was a need to tap into it. Now, the NPP is also making whether...
No. And what did you say?
It's not about what we said.
And you see, this kind
It
of
doesn't matter.
Selective argument.
Whether it is selective argument or not. If you said it and we oppose and now we are agreeing with you, what is the problem?
So
we
when we are also,
what is the problem?
It means that it's not good.
That's
not
why.
principle.
Who on
principle.
earth doesn't change his mind?
Oh.
Except the fool. Sorry
so
to say that.
Change our mind.
So what is the problem? When we promised free SHS, they said it was impossible.
We didn't say that.
When they became government, they said they were implementing progressive free SHS.
Progressive free.
So what's the problem? You change your mind because, excuse me to say, you are not fools.
Always said
when the circumstances
free.
and the facts change, you are a human being. You are a reasonable person. You can also change your positions. But what I'm saying is that there's an argument from both sides, NPP, NDC, that let's not let the Heritage Fund sit as it is. That is what the argument is.
That's the basis of the argument.
Yes, well, that's so far the argument. The NDC said, let's tap into it into infrastructure. The NPP says, let's tap into it into free SHS education. For me, one common thing in this argument is that something has to be done about how the Heritage Fund has been proposed today as it is. And if the law is proffering a different opinion, what do you do to the law?
The MPP,
you amend it.
The MPP and the Nanado campaign, when you were promulgating or perhaps also campaigning on the subject of making sure that second cycle education is extremely free, where did you intend funding that program
Of
from?
course, the oil money is part of it, and it's still our money. There is nothing wrong using the oil money to fund education in this country. Nothing wrong with that. And the government is prepared to do it. And I'm very, very supportive of the idea. If it means to amend portions of the Petroleum Act, nothing stops them. They are a majority in government, in parliament. They can do so. So this law, the law has mandated, this same law can be amended any day in parliament. So I don't see where the constraints are. If as a people, we think that the law as it is today...
But this is why it's not as a people matter.
It is as a people. I've told you that. Look, the two majority... What government? When NDC was in government, they proposed that we touch the Heritage Fund. NPP has come into government. They are proposing we touch the Heritage Fund. So the argument of touching...
Well, they proposed and you...
It's not a proposal.
They proposed and you disagreed.
They disagreed because
and
they proposed
society
it
went along with you. Now you are proposing.
No, listen. It's
they
not
also
about proposal. It's not about proposal.
And civil society is also disagreeing with you.
Fund into infrastructure that was bloated, and we know the corruption that was in there, and it was just an amount to just whisk away the funds.
He's still in the
now,
campaign
what
trail.
I am, of course, not campaigning. We know what happened with your corrupt deals.
We know what you have done. So since ever you took over government, you have been reneging on your promises.
We have heard
denying those promises. We know what you have done.
So clearly, education is about the future, and any serious government who is prepared to use the oil money to educate children of this country, I will support it any day, any time, whether it is called Heritage Fund or Oil Fund, whatever name is given to it.
If we hadn't built infrastructure, were you going to let us...
What infrastructure did you build? Your 200 secondary schools, you only commissioned 12. Is that infrastructure you built?
Now the point is this. SHS funding is a recurrent expenditure.
Yes, it is.
So it must be, you must support it every year.
You must find means.
Means to support it every year. And this is a relevant point I'm making, because the use of the fund would end up not achieving anything. Because what is in the fund...
at the end of it, there will be nothing in the
coffers.
There
will be nothing in the coffers.
Not
where are you going to... Where are you, after utilizing the whole thing for the first 1 year or 2 years, where are you going... You would have dissipated the fund. Subsequently, where are you going to get money to fund? So it is not a fund that is capable of sustaining this humongous promise.
Why is this humongous? In many circles, it's described as a laudable promise.
No,
indeed,
if you don't have the resources to maintain something...
Indeed, the NDC government started some partial restoration of free SHS somehow.
Look, if I don't have the capacity to maintain a Benz and I go and buy a Benz car, is it not a humongous investment?
It's not the same, is it?
It's the same. You cannot sustain it with the Heritage Fund. It's just a drop in the ocean. Then you want to dissipate it. And then, subsequently, what do? You cannot go back there because it is not there. You have also jeopardized the existence of that fund. The future generation will not be able to tap into it. But in any case, this platform is for education. So when I made the point by trying to correct the senior minister that the definition of generation is for the viewing public. People have heard him yesterday. They have heard him today. They may be going along with him wrongly. I am saying that the law defines this generation. The law has pinpointed this generation.
The law can always be amended.
Who is talking about not amending? I'm saying that for the time being, there is a message sent by the senior minister. Senior minister said that educating people is future. I agree. But I'm saying that I am here. If you bring me here just to corroborate wrong things, don't bring me here. You brought me here to tell people what the right things are. The senior minister's definition is not in sync with the law.
As you think.
The law says that this future generation are those who are yet unborn, those who will be born at the time that the reserves are depleted. These are the people we are talking about.
John, at the time when we discovered oil, and I remember I was a presidential correspondent at the time, and I think the heads of Talo and Adako and all that, they brought a sample at the castle at the time, and the president, John Kufuor, was very much happy. And
the NDC said it was palm oil.
Well, whatever it was black oil, and everybody said this is. And then I remember at the time, following that, the president at the time said it was important that Ghana did not follow into the steps of the countries that have discovered oil, especially on the continent, and then being followed up with a certain cares. And the whole description of the oil cares is that they discover oil, but it did not reflect in the livelihoods of the people.
Thank you.
But more importantly, there was nothing to show decades later that they have discovered oil.
Thank you.
And so the president said, go to the best countries who have the best practices and learn.
Yes.
So we sent people to Norway and some other countries. They brought us the framework of the legislations they have, the intentions of what they do, because they have been doing it for decades, if not hundreds of years. And we have copied from the best. Now we want to digress from the best.
No.
But that's what we're doing.
I mean, whatever you have said is not different from what we want to do now. First of all, let me correct an impression. The NPP government has not said that it intends solely to fund the SHS from the Heritage Fund. We haven't stated that. But it is one of the possible avenues to look at. Secondly, if, let me ask you, since 2011, when we started getting oil in commercial quantities and revenue from oil, I'm told the revenue stream is about $4 billion over the period that we started getting oil in commercial quantities. Can you point to any one thing that you will say that the oil money has done for this country? I don't know one. Do you know one?
The resources from oil that we get annually, from the Heritage Fund is there, so it's
It's not about Heritage Fund. I'm talking about the revenues from the oil.
We have the stabilization
it goes
fund,
into the budget.
and then we have.
And what happens when it goes into the budget? Before the oil money, we were still having our budget financed. What I'm saying is that it is so inequitable today. I don't even know what they use the oil money for.
How can you say that?
Yes, because I don't see it. But Nanado is saying that from today, you and I can point to the fact that every child in this country is having free education from the oil money. At least we can point to something. And that allows accountability and specific calculation and measurement when it comes to the benefit of the oil money. So in future, in about a decade or two to come, you and I will not sit here and say we were cursed from the oil money, because we would have educated a whole generation from the oil money. And we'll be proud to say we did A, B, C, D with the oil money. That is what Nanado is saying. And it is in line with best practices of the world. Go to Norway and look at their social welfare interventions. Education, as we talk about today, in Scandinavian countries, is free because of oil. And that's what we intend to do. Nanado is saying, look, all these monies, go to GMPC and look at their budget. About 400 million, they use what, 20 million to sponsor football. They build infrastructures that are necessary. They say capacity building, $40 million. What is that capacity building for? So all this wastage we are having in the system, can't we streamline all that to benefit every child in this country, where we know for a fact that at least your child, my child, whether poor, rich, or great, they can all go to school and have education without you, the parent, having to bother. And we can all point and measure that at the end of a decade or two, Ghana used its oil money to educate its children, and it has helped change the literacy rate of the country and put it on a path of development. Why can't we be proud of that?
He says that he doesn't know what the oil money is.
I don't know. Maybe you know.
He doesn't know that the oil money, a percentage goes into our budget.
And what happened when he went into it?
And he says that he doesn't know, you cannot
You used $13 million of that to build a vice presidential villa. It was just corruption.
If you use the oil money to educate children, how would you know? Is it going to be written on their foreheads? Just as how you don't know. You can't see. how the money has been used, because we've not written on the roads, oil money. We've not written on market.
Is it the cocoa roads or what?
We've
Which
not written
roads?
on the this oil money.
Which roads?
In the same vein.
Which roads?
In the same vein, if we used it to educate children,
we will
how
know.
would you know this child
We will know.
was educated by oil?
We will know.
Is it that they will print on his forehead?
Yes, we will know.
Akufo-Addo,
It will
oil
be
money.
printed in his mind.
In the same way, you know.
I hope
Just
that
as how you don't know.
I hope that as media, as civil society, and politicians will come to a certain consensus on that, because there's a reason and a certain rationale why we have the money being put into the Heritage Fund, and then we have the other proceeds.
The other proceeds are there.
The stabilization levy and
They
the
are
one
all
also
there.
for
Why
the
don't you
annual
tap
budget.
into
But
that?
I have told you, I don't know why
Why don't you
he's so
tap
stressed
into
up
this?
about
Why
this
don't
matter.
you tap into that?
We
Anyway,
are not
And
saying we are
even,
tapping
that one is even 70%
only Heritage
and
Fund.
21%. And
Don't
then
worry.
you are going for the
We will
9%.
tap into
All right.
every
Small
possible
thing.
avenue.
But we have to
There's
go.
more to
We have to go. But let's look at this for 10 minutes and go. There's something that happened apparently, a disturbance between students of the Kumasi Technical Institute and the police in Kumasi. It followed, I think, annual or termly zonal games that were organized, and the students were jubilating, but I think they had some confrontation with a rival school, and as a result of that, there were some disturbances. The police came in, and then all of a sudden, some students got wounded. The police also claimed that their men also got wounded, at least 5 of them, and the students had at least not less than 30 or 35 incarcerated, prematurely put into some remand or some cells, and now they've been discharged. But the contentious issue was that the minister visited, the Minister of Education, raised concerns about the brutality meted out to the student and wanted proper investigations on the subject. I start with you, John Kuba.
Well, I think this police force and its mentality has to be really looked at.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, we saw how they meted out force on innocent demonstrators in the Let My Vote Count demonstration to a point that somebody had to lose one of his eyes. Citizens were totally, unnecessarily brutalized for just doing what? A peaceful demonstration. I don't know exactly what happened on the KTI campus, but these are school children. To what extent should the police go in, applying excessive force to restrain students? I think we really have to reorient the minds of the police that we are not in a war zone. That the application of excessive force at the least provocation must be condemned. That is not how police are trained or police are used in this world. Police are supposed to be civilians. They are not military people. And when students, we have all been to Intako, and even the police people, haven't they been to Intako before? These things are normal occasions where students will be rowdy, to a certain level. But for you to apply excessive force to a point of, hurting some of the students and causing unnecessary arrest and panic among students. And I'm told that they even went to the campus and started beating any student that were cited and breaking some of their windows and even entering their rooms. A student who is in his dormitory, you go to the extent of attacking him even in his dormitory. What is the use of the police? If you were to protect property and lives, and the person has run into his dormitory, you chase him even to his dormitory and beat him there, what kind of policing is that? So I'm happy the Minister of Education has intimated that they will probe into this matter. And I think they should look at how they apply this excessive force, and necessary disciplinary action should be taken against those police people. I don't think we should encourage these things to any part of any student at any part of this country. These things should not be repeated. And I seriously would be happy if the new IGP would look at how they reorient or educate our police force to understand that they are a civilian police and we are not in a war zone. Some things are, to be expected. And the way they apply excessive force at the least provocation is unacceptable. And now the NDC are in opposition. I believe very soon they will start going on demonstrations. I don't want to be hearing that they went on demonstrations and people were beaten because they went to demonstrate on their right. What is the meaning of that? I mean, our democracy have come to stay. And we should be more tolerant and we should be more accommodating to some of these things. If one or two people or one or two excesses come, we should handle it such that it does not degenerate into some of these disastrous situations. We are lucky from what we are hearing. We are very lucky that we didn't lose a life. These things shouldn't happen and we must not entertain it in the police force.
Apples and oranges are being compared here. You can't compare the Let My Vote demonstration to what happened at Kumasi.
I think the essence of what he said
No.
was the brutality.
Brutalities will come when you fail to obey the law. The police has a right to protect life and property. Your demonstration should not impede somebody who is engaged in his lawful activities.
Well, true.
So if they say pass here, and you say you want to pass here because it is here when you pass that the demonstration will be effective. Stopping bankers from going to work, stopping journalists from going to work. They will use maximum force on you. So it's apples and oranges. For the students, I think that these things are common. They were even common during our days when we were in school, you know. But now it has been society don't find because the inter-colleges are not even yearly. And the police are no longer a force. They used to be a force from the colonial era until we changed them into a service. So they need to amend their ways to be in tandem with their new name. If it's a force, that's why they behave in a force-like way and behave like military men. Nowadays, our military don't even do that. The point with the students' route was for them to go in there and maintain peace. After all, they were not fighting. The students were not aiming. It was a dispute between two schools. So all you needed to do, using your operational manual, is to create a buffer. I understand they were being stoned, but again, you notice the excessive use of force. They could have contained the situation. And I'm told they have been given route control measures, training on these matters. So why didn't they employ that? So this one, I will blame the police for the use of excessive force. Indeed, the police PRO in Kumasi indicated that, oh, they stole some of them and the police, some are injured. But your reporter from Joy FM said that they couldn't see anybody, they couldn't produce any policeman who was injured. So excessive use of force. The police is allowed to use force, but it should be force which is equivalent to the resistance. So firing live bullet at unarmed students, for me, smacks of the days of the apartheid era in South Africa. And I don't think that Ghana will have gone past that stage. They should be reoriented. They should know that they are no longer a force, but they are a service.
Well, we'll see how that goes. Okay, so that'll be it for our discussions this morning. And John Kuma is a legal practitioner. And thanks for joining me, John Kuma.
Thank you.
Another legal practitioner is Abraham
But
Amanda.
tell him that if you are demonstrating and you sway and go out to stop people from engaging, the police will meet you there.
But these are students.
Yes,
I think
so
essentially
that
that's
one
what he was talking
different.
about, the extent of the force.
I'm talking about their let my vote
Because
count.
the police
it will be his turn to demonstration. Don't worry.
because the police are supposed to be
When we are
civil.
demonstrating, I want to say it on
They are
telly.
supposed
Don't
to
worry.
be
I'm going to
civil
say it
and
on
Now,
public.
I am in government. I will have no basis to demonstrate. I wish him well in his demonstrations.
Let me tell you something.
Let him respect the police when he goes on demonstration. I wish him well.
I'm going to say it on telly. That if NDC is demonstrating and we go to seek audience with the police and they show us the route, and my leaders decide to take another route, I'll go back home.
Is it
I'm a
NDC
law abider.
or let's say
Any
a civil
demonstration,
society organization?
any demonstration that I
wish
am
you
in.
well.
Because
If the police,
I wish him well.
I'm a law-abiding person.
Let my Vote Alliance was not MPP.
They are MPP. Let my vote count. Who are they?
David Asante, a very good morning to you. And thanks for joining me, gentlemen. I've enjoyed the conversation. We have to take a break. When we come back, we'll have great conversations to continue with the show. Please do stay on.